I'm the worker bee.
Everybody got their phone silent. Just making sure there ain't no rain going on.
What you doing, baby? Same to you.
Look good. Check it out.
Thank you. Good morning. It's all good.
Okay. I think he went this way.
Everybody here? Good morning, everyone. We are here to announce a major breakthrough in a case involving the recent killings of 3 homeless individuals. Thanks to the tireless efforts of our Baton Rouge Police Department under the leadership of Chief Murphy Paul and other law enforcement partners, we have made an arrest. After an extensive investigation by our detectives, Jeremy Anderson, 29 years of age, was arrested this morning without incident. Chief Paul will give you further details about the arrest and investigation. I really want to thank the many members of our community who stepped up by providing our law enforcement with critical information for solving this case. The tips we received from the public show the commitment from our community to fight back against crime. I also want to thank the community partners, many who you see here, who worked with our law enforcement to raise public awareness among our homeless community. Finally, I want to thank the media who helped put a face to the victims, showing that they were people with valuable lives and loved ones who cared for them very deeply. The case is particularly tragic as the victims were part of a community which is often overlooked and vulnerable. It is our duty to protect our homeless, and I want to re-emphasize our commitment to continue to work with community partners to transition homeless individuals into shelter and permanent housing. In conclusion, before I turn it over to Chief Paul, I want to re-emphasize my commitment to public safety in Baton Rouge and the East Baton Rouge Parish. For many, including myself, the recent spike in violence has been both sad and alarming. These are issues most cities our size often face. Here in Baton Rouge, we are taking steps to address it with both short and long-term solutions. Chief Paul has reassigned many special units so that we have more officers on the street. We have another police academy about to roll out, and we will also continue to use data and technology to fight crime with 21st century strategies. At the same time, we are indeed focused on the long-term solutions, as I shared with you, namely addressing concentrated poverty. We're also focusing on bringing economic recovery to our neighborhoods, bringing greater access to health care, to food, to transportation, so that in time we can truly see a community of peace, prosperity, and progress for all of our citizens. Thank you again to our citizens who stepped up and helped us solve this case. The community partnership with our law enforcement is the most critical aspect of public safety. Our public safety partners will now speak in the following order: Chief Murphy Paul, followed by our Sheriff of East Baton Rouge Parish, Sheriff Sid Gautreaux; from Louisiana State Police, Colonel Kevin Reeves; our District Attorney, Hiller Moore; from Crime Stoppers, Sid Newman; and finally, from St. Vincent de Paul, Michael Acaldo. Thank you so much.
Last week, we called the press conference in this very room to inform the public that we had 2 incidents where 3 persons whom we believe were homeless were murdered. And as a result of that investigation and the efforts of our detectives, and with help from the Baton Rouge community, yesterday evening, as the mayor stated, we made an arrest. Our SRT team executed a search warrant at 150 South 17th Street in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Subsequent to the warrant, evidence was seized from the residence which linked a suspect to the crimes. During a post-Miranda interview with the suspect, incriminating statements were made which placed the suspect at the crime scene. As the mayor stated, we arrested Jeremy Anderson. He has been charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder. 2 counts of, let me make sure I got this right. Give me the charges again. 2 counts of first-degree murder.
1 count second.
And 1 count of second-degree murder. He was booked at the East Baton Rouge Parish Jail, where he has been processed accordingly. Again, I want to thank our law enforcement agencies that are represented here today for their help in this investigation and their continued support in helping keep the city of Baton Rouge a safe place. Louisiana Police, the East Baton Rouge Sheriff's Office, the FBI, DEA, ATF, and the District Attorney's Office and Crime Stoppers. And I want to personally thank our homicide detectives, the men and women of the Baton Rouge Police Department, for the great work that they do every day to make Baton Rouge a safer place by continuing to put the bad actors in our community in jail. Sid?
Thank you, Chief. Good morning. Earlier in the week, one of our detectives received information on this individual as a suspect in these homicides. We shared that information with Baton Rouge City PD, and they developed it and brought it to where it is this morning. And I just want to say this. All of this was done through our efforts, all of us, with the Violent Crime Unit. And that's what we call it the VCU. And that is what I want to impart to you and to the public, is what happens in that unit. You have total cooperation. You have people, all those units housed at the state police, and they're sitting there each and every day across from one another, sharing information, working together to solve crimes. And I don't think this public really understands the total value of this, but this is a perfect example of what we're talking about. To have this done cooperatively on a daily basis is really a wonderful, wonderful tool. And it's something that you don't see happening throughout the United States, or even throughout the state for that matter. I think when we started, it was something unique to all of us, and here in East Baton Rouge Parish, and we couldn't do it. None of this could be possible if we weren't all working together with the state. And I know the Colonel will tell you more about the crime scene's role in this, but it's working with our local partners, our federal partners, and with the state police and their crime lab to make these things happen. And I'm just proud that we have a small part in this. And you know, I think, once again, I just want to tell you, this is what the men and women of all these agencies that work in all these agencies do on a daily basis. And it's one of the reasons we have such a success rate in solving crimes, because we're just not holding on to information we may have, we're all sharing that information with each other. And I can't thank the men and women in my department and the men and women who work in the VCU representing all these agencies for their efforts on a daily basis.
Good morning. I don't know much I can say it better about the cooperation and collaboration between all the agencies stand up here. Everyone goes to work every day. We talk amongst ourselves daily. Our investigators talk to each other daily. Our patrol personnel talk to each other daily. And we exchange information constantly in the interest of public safety. I want to acknowledge the tireless efforts of the detectives that work this case, going out and following leads. The crime scene and detectives that collected evidence and submitted it to the crime lab for processing. Also, I'd like to acknowledge our personnel at the crime lab who worked tirelessly into the night on several nights processing this evidence so that we can get it back to the detectives with some positive results so that we can stop these crime sprees from happening. So I really appreciate appreciate the opportunity to be up here, and I appreciate the partnerships and the collaboration that we have on this team. So everybody up here is thank you very much.
Hey, you guys, good morning. I told you last Friday when I was here that despite these victims being homeless, that the detectives that work in this case, not only the detectives who are all outside here, but also the men and women who are not able to be here because they are at the lab with our federal partners, they're still working on other cases, that these men and women, they worked Christmas Eve, Christmas, New Year's Eve, New Year's, throughout the week on this case tirelessly, day and night, emails, phone calls. Not only that, they also met personally with others throughout the week on other cases that we're working on, not just this one. This is not their only case. They were very dedicated, and this took a lot of hard work on behalf of police to resolve this case. So hats off to them. Secondly, this defendant is charged with allegations at this point. He's presumed innocent. The burden is completely on the standing down on the concerns of police to accept that challenge. We will continue to review the reports of those coming in to make the assessment. Obviously, the first case that I know about the person some of the capture that the murder. The second case that qualified to deal with another purposeful murder, meaning that the person allegedly has committed a murder which certainly was killed and has done so again on subsequent occasions. So he potentially faces 3 first-degree murder charges. We'll weigh the evidence, take a look at the evidence, meet with the family, meet with the detectives before we make any type of charging decision. I want to also highlight, we mentioned the Violent Crime Unit and the Crime Lab. I also want to highlight that amongst all of our offices here, particularly through the ADF, we have a Gun Crime Intelligence Center that's been underway for a year now. What that center does is unbelievable, and compared to other centers across the nation, when every shot's fired that the police, sheriff, state police, any agency knows about, they respond to that scene, they search the scene, they pick up any shell casings that are left behind, and with the help of our crime lab and our crime scene personnel for all the agencies, they not only fingerprint, they also DNA shell cartridges. They take those shells and they bring them to the crime lab where they test them through our NIBIN system, and they look at any other shootings that have occurred, not only in Baton Rouge, but our parish, our state, and our nation, and then we're able to map weapons in the shell case that we're seeing. And if we're ever able to find someone with that gun or that shell casing, we're able to move forward. That's what happened in this case. We had shell casings that matched, that have been confirmed. We have a weapon that has been confirmed to those 2. And that effort led by that office, which is comprised of all of these different agencies, really put this case on a course where we knew that we were dealing with the same person, and let the detectives continue to do their work with the help of business owners, community leaders, also community citizens that came forward and gave us information. But we also want to thank the that came out on Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve, and despite what day it was, they wanted to assist in this effort. So we'd like to replicate this on every case that we have. Every case is important to all of us here, but what sets this apart is the community effort and those people that come forward. That's always the big difference in all of our cases. So we're happy to be here today. We have challenges ahead. Again, he's not guilty at this point. He's presumed innocent, and we will proceed as the facts dictate.
With everything that's been said, it's very obvious that it does take the entire community to help solve the crime problem in this community. You have a tremendous task force of members here today, but also the concerned citizens that do make those phone calls to the Crime Stoppers office, that do have that bit of information that can help solve the crime. Without it, a lot of these cases will go unsolved. And yet you do have that opportunity to get involved and do the right thing by contacting Crime Stoppers. So thank you to concerned citizens that participated in this event.
On behalf of homeless providers throughout the capital region, we really want to thank law enforcement first for solving this crime, but also from the standpoint of quickly connecting these crimes and then alerting homeless providers throughout the city. It just showed a commitment to life all lives in our community, and it enabled homeless providers like St. Vincent de Paul the opportunity to communicate to those we are so blessed to serve, those who are experiencing homelessness. We were able to get the word out. We were able to shelter and house people who would otherwise have been outside. But this is a good point for us to share that it's never safe to be outside. And that's why, as the mayor, and I want to thank the mayor for her comments, and when you look at her comments, they were talking about getting people into shelter and then into permanent housing. And that's what all homeless providers in the parish are trying to do. We're trying to solve the problem of homelessness, get people off the street, give them the case management and other services that they need to help them achieve residential stability. That's what we're all geared for. But I can't thank the quick determination Friday that these things were connected, then contacting us so that we could communicate, then holding a meeting for us earlier in this week to put us even in a better position as homeless providers to get the word out about the risks out within the community and doing the things necessary to provide safety for those in need. Finally, I'd like to again thank the mayor. Currently, we're working on a $1.2 million shelter that will provide an additional 36 beds. It will open sometime in February, March of this year. And in circumstances such as this, if the chief or law enforcement contacts us, we'll be able to open those 36 beds in a hurry, whether it's a freeze or something else like what we're talking about today. Again, on behalf of all the homeless providers in the Capital Region, thank you for your great work, and thank you for quickly contacting us and putting us in a position to help those who are truly vulnerable in our community.
Before I conclude and take questions, I'm going to ask Deputy Chief McGarner to bring out detectives in here. Let me tell you why it's important. I want you to stand right in front of this podium because, you know, when many of us were home with our loved ones on Christmas and New Year's, we talk about putting a face with hard work. And I want you to write a picture because I want you to see that. I know they don't like, but look, it's important because the great work that these men do, you know, they don't always get the opportunity to get to see their faces, but we hear about it every day, every week, and the passion they have for what they do. And we have one of the best detective divisions in this country, and we're very proud of these men and what they do every day, and a tireless effort. And I know hopefully you guys could get some sleep beginning this year, but I wanted to recognize you and thank y'all for the hard work and say we're proud of you guys, okay? All right. You know, I want to highlight, when we talk about it, and you heard it from all of our partners, I want to highlight our most important partner in our efforts to reduce crime in our city, and that's the community. You know, we cannot solve crimes without the community's help. And I want to thank Baton Rouge for helping us capture the person responsible for these horrific acts. But we need more help, Baton Rouge. We can't stop here. You know, we're beginning a new year, 2020. Well, we've recognized a decrease in homicides for 2 consecutive years. That's 2 consecutive years. Well, we had a decrease in homicides, right at around 20% over the past 2 years in a reduction in homicides. But I am confident and determined to continue this downward trend with our partners here in 2020. We're going to see even greater reductions next year. There's a lot of work that needs to be done, but it is progress. But we need your help, Baton Rouge. You know, when we look at the help that we get from the community, we have success stories like this when we make an arrest, when crimes have occurred. But we're asking the community to take it one step forward. Because what we've learned in our investigative efforts, that when we conduct these investigations, that there are people who are affiliated or associated with those who are responsible for violence, who communicate their intentions, who communicate their threats prior to committing that horrific act. And what we're asking the community of Baton Rouge is to take it one step further. We can stop the next crime from happening. When you have information that someone intends to commit a crime, call Crime Stoppers, 344-STOP. When you have information where somebody has communicated a disagreement, an argument, or a beef with someone else, don't wait till that crime happens to call Crime Stoppers. We're asking you to call us early. Intervention. You have an opportunity to stop that next crime from happening. And we can do it, Baton Rouge. We just have to reimagine our position, our role in stopping crime in our community. And that's what we're asking you. We need your help. We got a lot of great things that are going to happen in 2020, but we cannot do it without you, Baton Rouge. If you don't want to call law enforcement, if you don't want to call Crime Stoppers, call your pastor. We have so many leaders in our community that you trust. Teachers, barbers, the mailman, petitioners, family members, that you can communicate that to, and they can call us. They can call Crime Stoppers at 344-STOP or call the Baton Rouge Police Department at 225-389-2000. I'm asking you to take it one step further, Baton Rouge, and help us to continue recognizing those reductions in crime. When you see something, say something. When you hear something, say something. And when you know something, say something, Baton Rouge. Thank you. We'll take questions now.
Are we confident Mr. Anderson is the only one involved in this case, or can we expect more arrests? What are we?
Right now, that's the only arrest that has been made. I want you to do, this is an ongoing investigation, right? We just made an arrest. So our detectives are still continuing their investigative efforts, but at this time, he is the only person who has been arrested. There is no evidence at this time which leads us to believe that way, but that could change if new evidence presents itself.
Chief, were you surprised how quickly the arrest was made? Right, you said you were going to own a task force. Were you?
Well, you know, I am not surprised how this community is stepping up. I'm not. I think we've seen that over the past couple of years. You know, when we recognized there was a connection between homicides, and we met that were coming in. So I wasn't surprised. You know, when I look at when our detectives get information and tips and leads, they do a great job of following up and exhausting those investigative leads. So when we began to see this calls coming in, I was pretty confident that we would make an arrest. Look, it's all about the community. We cannot make arrests without the community stepping forward.
Chief.
Yes.
Community, that's the thing since you've been chief, that's the word you've used over and over again. With this arrest and the beginning of a new year, would you say that this is a signal to any that if you commit a crime here in Baton Rouge, we will get you?
Absolutely, that's the message we want to send. You know, look, we talk about there's a very small group of people that's responsible for the crime that happens. And when we look at disinvested communities, right, those communities where sometimes we have to redirect calls for services, the people that we run across in those communities, they're good law-abiding citizens. There are a small group of people that's responsible for majority of the crime. And with our efforts here, with all of our partners and some of the technology that we're going to be bringing to our real-time crime center, we're going to continue to identify those individuals. But the best partner we have to identify them is the community. And we have to be mindful that when we go in those communities, those people who live in those communities won't crime out more than we do because they live it every day. So we have to engage them. We have to communicate with them. We have to get them involved in solutions. And when that happens, they pick up the phone and they call us.
Do you have a possible motive in this shooting at all?
Not at this time.
Does Anderson have a criminal background?
He does have a criminal background. There was some arrests made. I don't have the details of that at this time.
Michael, I had a question for you, and really for a couple people up here, but when we were out there, I guess it was Monday, there was a sense of nervousness. People were on edge that maybe didn't have a guaranteed spot or a shelter. Can you talk about, is there a sense of relief for you knowing that this guy's off the streets?
After the chief and Hiller talked to the service providers, got the information out, how we should communicate with those who we felt were at risk, as well as encouraging anyone that had any information to share that with Crime Stoppers, and that was successful. So from that viewpoint, I think that but that's why I made in my comments, it's never safe to be outside. So as the mayor said, we want to get people into shelter. We want to provide them case management and get them into permanent housing. I can't thank chief law enforcement enough for relieving this from our community. And you know, homelessness is a struggle. People that are going through that situation, they don't want to be homeless. But having something like what was going on was a sure burden, especially people with disabilities. So I thank the chief for relieving that burden and doing a great job of reacting quickly, not only from the standpoint of solving the case, but getting in touch with us so that we could get the message out quickly as soon, Friday, as soon as we knew what they shared with us. So thank you.
Sir? I understand that it was one of your detectives, investigators, who received this tip and passed it on to the police department. Can you share any information about that tip?
The detective that was involved with that, he received information, I think it was actually on New Year's Day, and developed the suspect as one that was responsible for these crimes. He immediately shared that with his counterparts, and Baton Rouge City took it from there, and they developed the case from that point on. And they did a tremendous job in what they did as far as gathering information and collaborative information that points to this guy's arrest.
Do we have any idea if the suspect that was arrested, did he know his victims?
We don't know that at this time.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.